The spine's true role in function is to act as a conduit between the upper and lower halves of the body. Often it has to do so by being able to transmit and absorb forces that go through and overlap through this area. What we like to do at the Functional Movement Group is use the movement assessment tool to investigate the stability and mobility relationships of the spine. We need to be able to do this because stability without mobility is just rigidity, and often mobility without any stability leads to injury. Having the patient set up on the mat, standing behind the 90-degree line, we can first assess the patient in terms of their spinal motion in the sagittal plane in flexion. By picking a verticality to start with and then asking the patient to reach towards that verticality, we can then assess not only how they move if we space that out a little bit further to increase the distance and check how far they can reach in that angulation, but we can also then assess the quality of the movement through there. From that, we can then start to reduce the stability and see how that changes the quality of their motion. So I'll get Stephen here now to stand in a single leg balance stance. So we've slightly reduced the stability of his system, and now we'll get him to once again reach towards that angulation. From there, we can then decrease the stability even further by getting Stephen now to stand in a full single leg balance stance. Once again, asking the patient to reach towards that verticality. We can check the quality of the movement. How does their body respond to that decrease in stability? Or we could increase the distance in which we're asking Stephen to reach to again. Now let's assess in the frontal plane. So we'll get Stephen now to stand with his left foot, just the lateral aspect, once again, near the 90-degree line. And then we'll get Stephen to stand with his arms above his head. And I'll get you now, Stephen, to reach across towards our measurement pole. And once again, we can increase the distance and check how far is Stephen able to reach. From there, we can then once again get Stephen to stand in a single leg balance stance with toe touch. Once again, decreasing the stability slightly. Once again, getting the patient to reach. We're checking how far can they get to, what's the change in the quality of their movement. From this, we can then continue to a single leg balance stance if we wished, but now we're going to assess in the transverse plane. So if we get Stephen now to stand so he's facing slightly further around, we can measure our angulation on the mat star. We'll then get Stephen to stand with both hands out in front, and we'll get him to rotate toward the measurement line. Once again, we can decrease the stability by going into either a single leg balance in toe touch or a full single leg balance stance to check what happens in his movement through his spine.